On May 14, 1948, a new nation was declared. The very next day, it was simultaneously invaded by 5 different armies: Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, and Lebanon. Domestically, the situation was just as dire. The newly formed Israeli government had to immediately limit water consumption to just 10 liters per person. They had no modern military infrastructure, relying instead on a patchwork of aging planes and surplus weapons. While neighboring nations mobilized thousands of heavy tanks, the defending forces were largely reduced to fighting from unarmored, open-top jeeps. By any conventional military metric, survival was a mathematical impossibility. Yet today, the country ranks as the 8th most powerful nation on Earth. Global economic powers rely heavily on its technology, and it exports billions of dollars in advanced defense systems worldwide. The state's geopolitical ascent was built on its lack of natural resources. That absolute scarcity forced a total weaponization of its only asset, human capital. During those early invasions, the defenders quickly reached a breaking point. Their stockpiles of conventional artillery and bombs were completely exhausted. Out of ammunition, an Israeli soldier suggested loading standard glass seltzer bottles into crop duster planes. When dropped from high altitudes, the rushing air moving over the open bottles created a high-pitched shriek. To the opposing armies below, it sounded exactly like heavy bombs plummeting toward them, triggering widespread panic. On the ground, they deployed the Dvetka. It was an incredibly inaccurate mortar, practically useless for hitting specific targets. However, its explosive payload created a deafening, terrifying roar. The sheer volume convinced advancing troops that they were facing a devastating, highly advanced arsenal. When 6 distinct armies attacked simultaneously, their major weakness was a lack of coordination. By using sound and psychological pressure to break one unit's resolve, the confusion rapidly spread to the rest. The defenders secured their borders through asymmetric thinking, outsmarting adversaries when outgunning them was physically impossible. By the 1960s, the region's military landscape had escalated. Surrounding nations had acquired massive columns of heavy mechanized armor. Improvised tactics would no longer hold the line. To survive, the state had to identify and neutralize threats long before they crossed the border. This specific need drove the creation of an elite intelligence agency, the Mossad. In one of their most effective operations, a spy named Eli Cohen posed as a wealthy businessman. He infiltrated Syrian high society, throwing lavish parties and building such deep relationships with the political elite that he was nearly appointed deputy defense minister. Under the guise of a generous donation to help Syrian soldiers suffering in the heat, Cohen offered to plant eucalyptus trees at their hidden border outposts. The trees, he claimed, would provide essential shade. The Syrian military accepted the offer. Months later, Israeli bombers didn't need to guess where the covert bunkers were located. They simply targeted the newly planted clusters of eucalyptus trees, precisely eliminating the outposts. Intelligence gathering became the nation's primary protective layer. By neutralizing threats at their origin, a geographically tiny nation dictated the terms of its own defense. Following its establishment, Israel received significant financial support, including global donations and millions in reparations from West Germany. But capital alone does not guarantee prosperity. Many developing nations receive massive foreign aid and remain impoverished. The differentiator was how that capital was deployed. Rather than focusing on rote memorization or churning out graduates for mass service jobs, the education system treated engineering as a strict mandate for national survival. Students were evaluated entirely on their ability to solve acute, real-world problems. To combat severe water scarcity, engineer Simcha Bloss invented a system to deliver water directly to plant roots in precise amounts. This innovation, known as drip irrigation, reduced water usage by 60% while maintaining crop yields, eventually becoming a multi-billion-dollar global export. When faced with the threat of continuous rocket fire, they integrated this same engineering philosophy with national defense to develop the Iron Dome. It remains one of the most highly effective, heavily utilized air defense systems in the world. By heavily investing in an education system geared strictly toward invention, the nation generated its highest return on investment, a highly capable human workforce that produced valuable proprietary technology. In the early 1990s, the collapse of the Soviet Union triggered a massive demographic shift as over 1 million Jewish immigrants crossed into Israel. The Soviet Union was renowned for its scientific rigor, meaning this influx included world-class mathematicians, doctors, and top-tier engineers. Overnight, the nation acquired one of the most skilled workforces on the planet. But there was a major economic roadblock. Despite the deep talent pool, foreign venture capitalists completely refused to invest their money in a volatile conflict zone. This diagram shows the Yozma Fund. If a foreign investor put up this successful, the investor bought out the government share at its original price. All the downside risk was subsidized by the state, while the massive upside profit was left for the private investor. This financial engineering successfully lured heavy global venture capital into the region, directly giving birth to the modern startup nation. Over a span of a few decades, a state that once had to ration drinking water evolved into an indispensable technology hub. Today, the world's largest tech giants rely heavily on its microchips, software, and medical devices. This trajectory reveals stark geopolitical realities. Global diplomacy operates largely without morality. It respects leverage. International allies did not step in to secure the state when it was weak. They aligned with it only after it proved it had the capacity to defend itself and innovate. Second, raw headcount does not equal national power. A massive population without specialized training is a liability, not an asset. True national wealth is generated by the density of highly skilled problem solvers within your borders. This provides a critical lens for India, which has produced more engineers in the last 15 years than Israel's entire population. But funneling talent into service-based maintenance for foreign products creates no leverage. National influence is built by creating original IP, not just maintaining it. To command true global respect and economic dominance, a nation has to transition from simply being a reliable service provider to becoming an essential inventor. Self-reliance secures a nation's borders, but true influence is earned when its inventions become essential to the global economy.